Artificial intelligence has become the defining story of our time. It's reshaping industries, rewriting the rules of creativity, and capturing imaginations everywhere. The numbers are staggering. Trillions of dollars in market value, billions in venture capital, and a flood of new companies promising to change the world. But as the excitement grows, so does a quiet question that's beginning to echo through boardrooms and headlines alike. Is all of this real? Or are we watching another bubble inflate before our eyes? Over the past few years, the rise of AI has felt almost mythical. One company after another claims to have built something revolutionary. Every app, every product, every pitch seems to have the same two letters attached to it: A and I. From chatbots to image generators, from coding assistants to music composers, AI has become the universal solution. It's easy to see why people are fascinated. The technology feels magical. Ask ChatGPT to write an essay or summarize a legal document, and it does so instantly. Ask Midjourney or DALL-E to create an image, and you get something that could hang in a gallery. Machines can now generate voices, write code, and even reason in ways that once seemed impossible. But like every technological revolution before it, the line between innovation and speculation is starting to blur. The modern AI boom began with OpenAI's ChatGPT at the end of 2022. Within 5 days, it had over 1 million users, the fastest adoption in internet history. Suddenly, artificial intelligence was no longer an academic project. It was a consumer product, free to use, endlessly fascinating, and universally accessible. Microsoft saw an opportunity and invested billions into OpenAI, embedding its technology into everything from Windows to Word. Google responded with its own system, Bard, later rebranded Gemini. Anthropic, a company founded by former OpenAI employees, entered the race with its Claude models. Meta and Amazon followed with their own open and commercial models. And then there was NVIDIA, the company that quietly built the hardware behind it all. Its graphics processing units, or GPUs, became the literal engines of the AI revolution. Everywhere you looked, the narrative was the same. AI was going to transform the world. Tech conferences were packed again. Startups raised money on little more than an idea and a demo. Big tech executives promised that artificial general intelligence, a machine that could match or surpass human reasoning, was within reach. And yet, beneath all this optimism, a familiar pattern was emerging. The numbers began to stretch belief. Companies with no clear business model were raising hundreds of millions. AI became a marketing term more than a technological description. In 2024 alone, global spending on AI systems surpassed $200 billion, much of it speculative. Some of this is rational. Revolutions always attract excess. But when everyone begins to chase the same dream at once, history tells us that things rarely end cleanly. The first warning signs came from the stock market. After months of soaring valuations, AI-related stocks began to wobble. Some startups quietly shut down when they couldn't afford the massive computing bills required to train new models. Others pivoted to AI-powered versions of existing tools, hoping to ride the hype cycle a little longer. And yet, it's not all smoke and mirrors. Unlike the crypto or NFT bubbles of the last decade, AI actually works. That's what makes this story complicated. It's not a scam. It's a real transformative technology, but one that may be overvalued, overhyped, and overextended in the short term. To understand whether AI is a bubble, it helps to look back. The 1990s internet boom followed a similar pattern. When the web became mainstream, investors poured billions into any company with a .com at the end of its name. Valuations skyrocketed. Then, in 2000, the bubble burst, wiping out trillions in market value. But the story didn't end there. The crash cleared the field for companies that actually delivered value. Amazon, Google, and eBay? The internet didn't die. It matured. AI today feels like it's at a similar inflection point. The technology is genuine, but the market behavior around it is showing classic signs of a bubble. Speculative capital, inflated promises, and a rush of imitators chasing momentum rather than meaning. One major issue is cost. Training state-of-the-art AI models is incredibly expensive. OpenAI reportedly spends tens of millions just to train a single version of GPT. That doesn't include the cost of serving millions of users in real time. Each question or prompt requires powerful servers and vast amounts of electricity. Only a handful of companies, Microsoft, Google, Amazon, Meta, and a few startups like Anthropic, can afford this race. That concentration of resources means the AI boom is already showing signs of consolidation. The dream of democratized intelligence may end up in the hands of a few giants. Then there's the physical side. Behind the ethereal promise of AI lies a very real infrastructure problem. Data centers are expanding at unprecedented rates. NVIDIA's GPUs are in global shortage. Energy demand from AI servers is expected to double within the next few years. Some estimates suggest that by 2030, AI could consume as much electricity as entire nations. These are not small challenges, they're systemic limits. Meanwhile, on the cultural side, AI is changing how people think about creativity and value. Artists, writers, and coders are asking what happens when machines can do their jobs, or at least approximate them. Entire industries, from marketing to filmmaking, are experimenting with automation, sometimes replacing human roles altogether. For many, AI represents progress. For others, it feels like erosion, not of jobs, but of meaning. Still, despite the discomfort, AI adoption continues to grow. Companies are integrating it into daily workflows, customer support, design, sales, even law and medicine. The difference between hype and reality is narrowing, but slowly. Most of the value is still in promise, not profit, and that's where bubbles form, in the space between imagination and delivery. But even if there is a correction ahead, that doesn't necessarily mean disaster. When a technology reshapes entire industries, the market usually overshoots first. The dot-com crash was followed by a decade of real innovation. Companies that survived it built the foundations of the modern internet. The same pattern could unfold with artificial intelligence. In fact, some economists argue that what we're seeing isn't a bubble in technology, but in expectation. A social phenomenon more than a financial one. The tools themselves are improving rapidly. It's our timeline for impact that's inflated. We expect overnight transformation, but history shows that paradigm shifts unfold over years, even decades. AI's genuine breakthroughs are already visible. In healthcare, algorithms detect cancers earlier and more accurately than traditional screenings. In logistics, predictive systems cut waste and fuel consumption. In science, AI models simulate molecular structures that once took months to compute. These aren't speculative ideas, they're practical wins. And yet, the economic side remains uncertain. Many AI companies still rely on venture funding rather than profit. The cost of running large-scale models means that for every dollar of revenue, a large portion goes straight to cloud providers. Microsoft, Amazon, and Google Cloud benefit most from this arrangement since smaller companies have no choice but to rent their computing power. This dependency raises a subtle question. What happens when the companies selling the shovels, the chips, servers, and cloud platforms make more than the ones digging for gold? In the short term, NVIDIA and the cloud giants look unstoppable. But if the startups they serve can't build sustainable businesses, the flow of capital may eventually slow. Another tension lies in regulation. Governments around the world are scrambling to set rules for AI, privacy, data use, copyright, and safety. The European Union's AI Act, the White House's executive orders, and similar policies in Asia show that lawmakers are trying to catch up. Regulation tends to arrive after the boom, but it can reshape the next phase, deciding who survives once the hype cools. Then there's the human impact. For all its promise, AI also amplifies anxiety. Workers wonder whether automation will replace them. Educators debate how to teach in a world where essays can be written by bots. Creatives question what originality means when algorithms can imitate any style in seconds. Some of those fears are exaggerated. New tools often create new kinds of work. But the disruption is real. Entry-level jobs, content moderation, basic coding, and design tasks are already being automated. The shift could widen inequality if the gains concentrate in the hands of a few companies and highly skilled operators. Ethically, the debate runs deeper. AI systems learn from data, vast, messy collections of human behavior. That means they also learn our biases, stereotypes, and blind spots. Without careful oversight, they can replicate or even amplify those flaws at scale. The technology is neutral in theory, but in practice, it reflects the people who build it. For now, public fascination outweighs concern. Every new release, GPT-5, Gemini 2, Claude Next, triggers headlines and social media buzz. Each seems more capable, more fluent, more human-like than the last, but the leap from impressive conversation to genuine understanding remains unsolved. AI can predict patterns, it doesn't yet comprehend meaning. That distinction matters. Much of the current hype treats AI as though it's on the verge of consciousness, an intelligence equal to ours. But most researchers agree that we're still far from that milestone. The systems we have today are powerful pattern recognizers, not minds. They simulate reasoning without truly experiencing it. When that realization spreads, some of the magic may fade. Expectations will readjust. Investors will start asking harder questions about revenue and differentiation. The market will mature, and weaker players will fall away. And that's healthy. Every revolution needs a cooling period, a moment when the noise subsides and the real builders get to work. After the crypto crash, blockchain quietly found practical uses in supply chains and record keeping. After the dot-com collapse, the internet evolved into a utility we can't live without. AI's trajectory may follow the same arc. So, what would a realistic future look like? In the next few years, AI will likely become less of a novelty and more of an infrastructure, woven into everything from office software to industrial design. It will be invisible, like electricity or the internet, always there, quietly doing its job. Companies that treat AI as a feature rather than a miracle will thrive. Those chasing hype will fade. NVIDIA will continue to dominate chips, at least for now, but new competitors are coming, from AMD to startups designing custom silicon. OpenAI will keep evolving, though it may face pressure to turn its immense popularity into sustainable profit. Google and Microsoft will refine their ecosystems, embedding AI deeper into everyday tools. And governments will watch closely, balancing innovation with caution. For the average person, AI will feel less like a revolution and more like a steady shift in how we work and learn. Some tasks will disappear, others will become easier. We'll talk less about prompt engineering and more about collaboration, people and machines working together. The novelty will fade, and utility will take its place. There will still be challenges: misinformation, deepfakes, data security, and the philosophical unease of delegating judgment to algorithms. But those are long-term cultural negotiations, not reasons to abandon the technology. In truth, whether AI is a bubble depends on what we mean by the word. If we define a bubble as inflated prices and unsustainable hype, then yes. Parts of this boom fit the description. Valuations are stretched, marketing is breathless, expectations are unrealistic. But if we define a bubble as something hollow, a fad with no enduring value, then AI is clearly more than that. The science is solid, the applications are expanding, and the direction of progress is undeniable. So perhaps the better question isn't whether AI is a bubble, but what happens after it bursts? When the noise fades, when investors move on, what will remain is the infrastructure, the knowledge, and the habit of thinking alongside machines. The same curiosity that created the boom will drive the next wave, one focused less on speculation and more on substance. Because bubbles, for all their chaos, also serve a purpose. They pull talent, capital, and attention into new frontiers. They accelerate development years ahead of schedule. And when they burst, they leave behind the groundwork for real progress. Artificial intelligence may be the biggest bubble of our lifetime, or simply the loudest phase of an inevitable transformation. Either way, it's shaping the century ahead. As with every revolution, the truth will reveal itself not in the headlines or valuations, but in what remains once the excitement settles.